Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Positive Black Business Talk with attorney David M. Walker. What's going on, David?
Oh, I'm super excited today. Today is a historic day. Did you know that? That this is the first time in the history of college sports where players can get paid for doing advertising and using their name, image, and likeness. So I'm happy for the college athlete to be able to get access to that, all that entertainment value that their schools are getting access to. And then I'm also happy for our own brand because we were able to sign two college athletes up, a wide receiver from the University of Mississippi and a wide receiver from the University of Miami. His name is Mike Harley Jr. and the guy from Mississippi is Jacor Pearson. Two great guys, two stand-up guys, really represent our brand's integrity and positivity, and we're looking forward to the relationship we have with them. Very exciting.
I'm excited about that, David. And for those of y'all who don't know, we are talking about Positivity Alkaline Water, which David owns here. So it's Black-owned alkaline water company. So that's exciting news, David, for sure. I'm excited about that and looking forward to seeing the other, ventures that you all and players that you all sign with us. So that's exciting. So on today's show, we're going to be talking about funding for businesses because that's important. And I know you, David, you've had a lot of experience working with entrepreneurs as a business attorney with getting funded. So I know you got a lot of knowledge for us on that topic today. So you all stay tuned. We'll be right back. All right, and we are back, baby. We are back. So today we also have some special guests with us today. They are college classmates, and they actually just started a trucking company together as well.
Okay.
So yeah, I'm excited. We're actually going to go ahead and get them on here so they can join our conversation. Let's see. Have Marcus here, and then we have Nia. Welcome in, you all.
Hi.
Hello.
Yes. Hello. And then
Hello, Marcus Nia.
How you doing?
How you doing?
I know your
Excellent.
other teammate, your other business partner, he'll be joining us as well shortly, Malik. So we'll let him on as soon as he joins in. But we'll go ahead and get started. So you all heard what David is. He's a business attorney with decades of experience in that. He's an entrepreneur. And you all go ahead and introduce you also as Marcus and Nia.
It's on me, Marcus.
Yes, go ahead.
Okay. Hi, everyone. I'm Nia. I'm sorry I couldn't make it to the last one, but I'm honored to be here this time. And I'm a graduate from Texas Southern University, a two-time graduate from TSU, and I currently live in Fort Worth, Texas. I'm an educator at the moment and also an entrepreneur, and that's pretty much everything about me. I'm just happy to be here.
I'm sorry. Go ahead, Marcus. I was on mute.
It's okay. I'm Marcus Nash. I'm from Dallas, Texas. Graduate from Texas Southern University. I currently now am an application analyst for a private bank. I also have a trucking company, and this is my co-owner, Nia Flye, and our other co-owner, Malik, who will join at 6:15. I also have a clothing company by the name of Hoopy Official. You guys will be seeing a lot of celebrities and stuff are wearing it. And I'm thankful, to be honest, thankful for this opportunity to chat with you guys and start this conversation.
All right. Well, I'm definitely excited to have you all, and let's go ahead and get the conversation going. So I want to get into and I know you all you're just starting the trucking company and Marcus having your own business. You definitely have that experience with the one, and I want to get into that. But first, David, I want to go to you, and let's because I almost wanted to do this in like a list format, like maybe give us a few like what's one of the main ways that you see business owners fund their business, or one of the, I guess, most important ways? Or, let's go ahead and get into it.
No, that's a fair question. You got to have money to make money. Everybody knows that. And when you start a business, that's no different as well. You got to have money to make money. A lot of times, and wrongly, a lot of people rely on the revenue from the business to fund the business. And that's really very hard to do, to be honest. You usually don't get to a point in which the revenue covers all of your expenses and makes enough profit for you to live off of for quite some time, unless, of course, you're a service provider, So if you're in a consulting business, in which case you have to, as an attorney maybe, or even though you went to law school, et cetera, that has some cost associated with it. But, in a consulting business, you can arguably say, okay, somebody pays my proposal, they pay me an hourly rate, and then I can go ahead and get a check right then. And because it's only me living off of it, or me creating intellectual property through spreadsheets or whatever deliverable, then yeah, in that scenario, you can generate money for your business. But most people got to go out, dig into their 401k, raise money with family and friends or whoever in order to get their business up and started to the point where it will start to make money in the future. So ultimately, everybody crosses this road, especially if we think about some of the past things we talked about, and outsourcing things you don't specialize in. So all of a sudden, you got this long list of vendors. You have all these needs in the business, and you don't have the capital to do it. So there's a scale of investors, and it really starts from the people who know you closest, which is yourself, and then it goes all the way to the end, the people who don't know you, which is a bank. And then you have people in between. You have friends and family, colleagues, seed investors, angel investors, venture capital, private equity, and then banks, of course. So that spectrum gets wider as further as the way you get from your own pocket. So let's talk about you as your own investor, right? So the first investor you have is yourself, and you don't need anything to convince yourself. So if you had enough money, your business needed 100,000 and you had $1 million, you don't need a business plan for yourself because you already know what yourself is going to do. You take your own money and you spend it like you want. But if you're going to go out and need money besides yourself, you got to convince people why to give you money. And a lot of times people try to use, well, you're close to me to give me money. Hey, mom, dad, brother, sister, you know me, give me some money. It may or may not work depending on the health of your family and the financial health of your family. But for a lot of times, we don't take the time to treat those people the same way we would treat a bank. You wouldn't go into a bank going, hey, you know me, get some money. They're going to ask for, credit reports, financial statements, etc. If you treat the closest investors to you just the same way you treat a bank, then you actually can have more success. So what are these banks and investors? What is the kind of information that they're looking for? Well, you're trying to convince them of a story, and you're trying to convince them to invest in a story that you are going to execute on. You have to answer 4 questions. What do you do? Why are you good at it? How much money you need? And what does investors get for it? And we can go over those 4 questions one by one. But when you see Shark Tank and those people come out like, hey, I'm Sally, I make little trinkets, I'm looking for $100,000 for a 10% stake in my company. That's the 4 questions. The name is Sally. She makes trinkets for whatever her local neighborhood. She needs $100,000 and the investor's going to get 10%. So that's really the key to fundraising, is answering those 4 questions. It's not easy to come up with the answer to those 4 questions, but knowing what those 4 questions are that your mother, aunt, cousin, angel investors, banks want to hear, that's the important part to try to get people to invest in your story.
All right, that's some great advice, David. And I want to, Marcus, I want to ask you, because you started your first business. I'm going to make sure I say it right. So was it Hupe or
Hupe?
Hupe.
Yes, ma'am.
Hupe. Okay. So when you started that business, did you start that while you were still in college, or was it after graduation?
I started after graduation.
Okay. So how did you go about, were you like self-funded? Like, what are some things that you did to help get your business off the ground? Because I've seen, you all got the clothing line is dope. I love it.
Thank you.
What are some things that you did to really help fund your business and get it off the ground?
First, like David said, it starts with you. I funded myself. Me and my business partner, Kirk Johnson, we really had a meeting, and we was like, well, before we go out and ask people for money, we would like to start funding our business ourselves. So we both have jobs. So out of each paycheck, I take a portion and invest into my business so that my business can have funds in it to create the produce that we need to sell. And then after we create our produce and we get our stats and our data on all our sales for monthly, then we can go show people, hey, this is what our business is making. Like David said, you have to convince people in your business. Why are you good at it? And that data shows when we're presenting our business proposal and people invest.
And you mentioned something too. You said you have your business partner Kirk, and you said that you still having your job, you take a portion of your paycheck and invest into the business. And I know a lot of people, they don't have that mindset when it comes to. I know David, me and you, we've talked about this on some previous episodes. Like even having that mindset of an entrepreneur and being able to think like, okay, let me donate a portion of this. So what's been your experience, David, when dealing with entrepreneurs like that and getting them to understand that?
The hardest question that people have to answer of those 4 questions is usually the question of how much money do you need? A lot of people just don't know. And when I tell people, they come in my office, Mr. Walker, I want to raise some money. I got some money. I need some money for my plant or whatever. And I said, okay, how much money do you need? And they go, about 50,000. And everybody starts it with about 20,000, and they don't know how bad that sounds to an investor. Like if I'm minding my own business and somebody come over like, you got about 20,000? Like, no, I don't have 20,000. But if you're able to say, hey, listen, I need, a $50,000 commitment. I'm going to spend $20,000 in the first 30 days. Of that, 25,000 is going to go to rent. 3,000 is going to go professional services. 2,000 is going to go to this equipment I have to order from China. Another 2,000 is going to go to personnel I have to hire in the first couple of days. Then I'm going to lose $3,000 a month for the first 6 months before I turn profit, and that's how I'm going to spend the 50,000. Then investors like, whoa, you know what you're doing. And that's really what people don't spend the homework to do, is really think about how much money they need. A lot of people start to think about it and then they hit numbers they're just not used to hearing. So if you're making 60, 70,000 a year and you start adding up the numbers of how much money you need and you start to get to like 60, 70,000, that scares you. Like, man, I'm asking and needing more money than I even make in a year. But that's not how business runs. Business isn't dictated by your salary and how much money you make. Business is dictated by business. So you have to be honest with yourself and say, okay, how much money do I actually need? So what I try to do for entrepreneurs to help them get over this is I say, look, if we met Warren Buffett tonight and I took you out to Warren Buffett and I said, okay, how much money you need? And you said 50,000. And Warren Buffett was like, okay, you have an LLC. Well, tomorrow morning, July 2nd, I'm going to wire $50,000 to your account. And now all of a sudden you got $50,200 in your account, and you sitting there in the morning and you're like, wow, look at 50,000 in my account. What are you going to do with it? Well, if you're saying tomorrow morning, I'm going to get up, I'm going to go find a place, I'm going to go look at some people, I'm going to try to find this equipment, Mr. Buffett's going to look at you and be like, you know what? I'm going to put my 50,000 back in my account. And when you get all that stuff ready, you let me know. So I tell people to really know how much money you need. Shop like you got the money in your account today and go get prices. Go find out not just how much real estate is, but what location would you get in the next 60 days and where was that location cost? Go find out how much the equipment costs and find out who's the vendor going to give it to you. Use your homework as much as you can to try to build up. And all of a sudden you start seeing that you need a lot more money than you probably thought. But telling the truth about how much money you need is better than trying to keep it low and minimize just so that you don't make it look like a big number. You're on mute, I think.
I'm sorry, I keep beating myself. But yeah, no, that's great advice. And that's something I definitely want to get into. That can actually probably be a whole nother episode, but things, because I'm sure it's a lot of entrepreneurs who'll see this. And you gave those tips, like knowing, okay, you have to know exactly, not just asking for the money, but what you want to use the money for with your business. So that's important for entrepreneurs to know too. And I want to get into you all, Nia and Marcus, and I believe Malik is on here as well. Hold on, let me get Malik on here. All right. Hey, Malik, what's going on?
Hey, everybody. How you doing?
Good, good.
How are you? Yes, Malik, we're talking about funding, and I don't know if you were able to hear the tail end of that conversation, but I want to get into the three of y'all because you all literally just launched your trucking company. And so I know like trucking, like that's one of those things where it definitely takes a lot of investment and funding to get that started. So let's get into you. I don't know who wants to start. I don't know, Malik, go ahead and introduce yourself first and let us know who you are.
I'm Malik Earle. I'm a 2-time graduate of Texas Southern University, and I am one of the business managing partners of Trilogy Point Logistics.
Okay. All right. So I want to get into you all. How did you, well, first, because I know when we did the last interview, Nia, I think they were saying you were pretty much like the brains of this whole operation and getting everything going. So, but I want to get into funding with you all because I'm sure it's a lot of people who they may want to start their own trucking company or, something of the sort. So how did you all really go about getting this thing off the ground?
Hey, before we do that, we need to go back to that last post and find that lady who said we left Nia out and tell her that Nia's online tonight.
Yeah, I did the little clip, and I'm
She
like,
tried to give us a hard time about that. But like I said in the initial interview we had a couple months ago, about a month or so ago, it really came from us being business minded and knowing what to do. I had a mentor who still to this day I talk to him all the time, who's very good financially. And with my money, my student loans, my refunds, I just saved them. And so me and Marcus and Nia, we all had that same thing. Like, hey, we knew eventually that we wanted to start some type of business at one point. So we just took our student loans, we kept stacking them. And then it took some personal money. We all, by the grace of God, have had some good paying jobs coming directly out of college. So that's how we funded our business. I went through the SBA, I went through the SCORE mentorship. And it was kind of, I'm not going to say the runaround, but it was just kind of like everybody was kind of stalling. I presented a business plan. The business plan was detailed to the T. I even had collateral, and none of them still really wanted to help us. So it's we kind of just looked at each other like, hey, Malik, Marcus, Nia, like we all had this money. Like let's do it.
Yeah, that's that happens a lot. A lot of people will sometimes think that there's money out there for startup businesses, and they get confused with small business and startup. So just to give you an idea how small we are, the SBA and the U.S. government considers anyone less than 500 employees a small business. Okay, so when you're watching TV and they're like, come in for a small business loan, they're not saying startup. They want you to be in business and generating money. Then they come and they want to see some collateral, et cetera. And they're probably talking to those people who have 50 to 500 employees. They're not talking about you within your idea. And so a lot of entrepreneurs are frustrated that they do this. They put together this business plan and all these things. They take it to people and they'll give them ideas, but they're not going to give them any money to start it up. So it can get frustrating unless you go into the private sector and ask for parents and things like that and other people. So I definitely can feel that frustration dealing with the SBA and SCORE on your startups money.
That was an important the way you broke that down, the difference between a startup and a small business. So a small business is not just like you said, I start a business tomorrow and I'll go ask for a loan. A small business. So that's considered just a startup, right?
Correct. A startup, pre-revenue, you're just kind of getting going. You don't really have a customer base. And to be honest, anybody, when we talked about the spectrum of the people who know you and the people who don't know you down at the other end of the spectrum, the bank, everybody on that bank side don't want to hear anything from you until you get at least a year or two generating some tax returns and financials. The other people in your inner circle, friends and families, colleagues, other people, mentors, you can actually convince them at a startup level because they're doing a lot of it because they want to see you succeed. But you got to bring them the same information you would bring a bank. You can't short it and be like, well, you're my cousin or uncle, so I don't really have to tell you exactly how much money I need or what I'm doing with it. And those people, aren't very successful because they're not being, either one, they're hiding their business, because the worst phrase in the Black community is stay out of my business. It's great personally, but it doesn't in business. We need to share more business. So you do want to keep more people into your business. I make my family talk about business at the Thanksgiving and Christmas because we all got the same problems, need to talk it out. But also too, you got to treat your friends and family professionally and take the time and energy to put the story together so they clearly understand what you're going to do with this money and they see the passion. Here's another thing about investors, because I represent both. They're super greedy. I mean, it doesn't make no sense. Everybody who's lost their money on these big Ponzi schemes and everything else, they're greedy. They don't want their money to sit in a savings account, because if your money sits in a savings account, it's just going to get eaten up by inflation. So you got to keep money moving, and you got to try to get 6, 7, 8% off your money. So what you're trying to do is find that wagon. You're trying to find a person who's going to the money train anyway, and you can just throw your money on their back and they can keep going. But if it looks like that investor is going to need to help you to push that train or pull that mule and stuff like nah, I got to give you the money and I got to help you, then they're going to help you. But if they see your plan and your vision and your eyes and your determination that this is going to happen with or without them, that's when they get greedy. And that's when it gets triggered that they want to invest. And how do you show that passion and drive that you're going to do it with or without them? Through your research, through your information, through your knowledge, through the information you provide to them, the people you brought around you, to the point how much money you put in yourself. Don't be sitting on 30,000 in the 401k asking me for 10, right? So people want to see you invest, and I think that's something you have to be committed to and have to be a little bit of risk averse to get involved.
And I want to ask you too, Nia and Marcus, because we heard Malik's story. And Malik, is your actual name? Is it Malik? I see you got Emmett here. Is it?
Yeah, it's Emmett Malik, girl. And I think Nia said her Wi-Fi was lagging, so she may not be able to hear your question.
Oh, okay. I think she's frozen a little bit, but it's okay. But we'll go back to you, Marcus, until she comes back on. So when it came to, because you already had your first business, right? And then we all came up with this idea to start the trucking company. And you said was it still a situation of funding the trucking? Was it still, like you putting a portion of your paycheck into that, or how did that work for you? And even like balancing trying to fund both businesses.
Just like Malik said, we were all business minded. So when we decided to create that idea in our head that, hey, we're going to create a business, we already knew that we was going to need capital. And we can't go ask anybody to invest in ourselves without us investing in ourselves first. So we had already knew that we need to save money, get jobs in order to take that next step with our business. With that being said, we had our refund checks. We graduated with good paying jobs, and we was all in order to invest into our business to get it started. So like David said, when it's time to go ask investors, they can see that we invested our own capital into our business. We believe that this train will go with or without them. So that it's just a matter of believing. And like you said, yes, I still invest my checks into Trilogy Point Logistics, and that's just one of my priorities. I believe that you make time for what you believe in. So I believe in Trilogy Point Logistics, and I'm willing to put all of my money in Trilogy Point Logistics if I have to.
And so how do you find even balancing, trying to with your clothing brand and then with the trucking company? Because a lot of people too, and then that's something that we can get into, but starting multiple businesses and being able to fully really give your all to both with the funds, like how do you balance those two things?
Most important is time management, finding that balance in between each business, knowing that it's help on either side. Like, it's not just me and Trilogy Point Logistics. I have two other business owners beside me. It's not just me and Hupe Official. I have a business partner beside me. And knowing that balance and knowing the work ethic of my partners, it creates that balance for me, knowing what I have to give and knowing what I can give here and what I can give there. And that's the main point and really the main focus. Every day I wake up, I realize I'm like, hey, this needs to happen with Hupe. This needs to happen with Trilogy Point Logistics. I need to find the time and create that balance to get all of this taken care of.
Marcus, you're gonna have these people out here thinking that they can do this. He's being too modest with how hard that is that what he's doing. It is really, really, really hard, and I'm sure he burns. You probably sleep 4 hours a day. I mean, not you might be in the bed 6 hours, but you're only getting 4 hours of sleep because you're thinking about all the things, the emails you got to get back. I have this all the time, and Black people do have a little bit of tendency to be serial entrepreneurs and into nonprofits. So ironically, people come in and say, I want to start 3 businesses and a nonprofit. And I'm like, okay, let's slow down. Okay. First of all, I'm not a nonprofit attorney. So let's just talk about for-profit and making some money. And then we can take your profits and do your nonprofit later. So let's just put that on the table. But I tell them, like, having 3 businesses come out at the same time is like having triplets at 18 years old. Like, not only are you not prepared to have 1 baby, but you're going to have 3. And that's how businesses fail, because they have too much on their plate early. What Marcus did, if you listen closely, is he built 1, okay? And then it got stabilized and he started on the second one. So I try to tell people, try to stagger your businesses first. So instead of going out and doing lawn care and car wash and t-shirt all on the same first day, 3 LLCs, try to get 1 going and just concentrate in that and get it going and build a team and let it go. And then when you kind of say, okay, I'm making a little money, I feel good. You make a little money, put it into something else. So that's me, Marcus. I'm the same way. I have a law firm, and I have my law firm for 20 something years. I got a law partner over there and a law manager, but I took the proceeds of that. And some people would have retired in 401k, whatever. I didn't. I put it in my bottled water company, and I took it all and I dumped it over there. Now the bottled water company started to turn a corner and make a profit. And guess what I'm going to do? Dump it into the bottled water company, because I believe in the energy and the team that I invested in. And I know that my life savings is somewhere in the equity of my company. Some people have their life savings in their 401k. It accrues 10% per year. That's all good. Great. But if I put equity in my company and it's accruing 15, 17% over a year, and if at the end of the day, somebody who came out of college, worked 20 years at IBM or Apple, and say, Dave, I got a savings of $6 million. Well, that's great, because I can do the same 20 years, same 20 things that have a saving of $18 million doing entrepreneurship. And it's just about where you hold your nest egg. A lot of entrepreneurs hold their nest egg in their businesses, and that's okay. But you have to build it up. You can't just try to build 3 eggs at once and then think that they're going to be wildly successful.
No, Dave, you definitely made some valid points.
Yeah. And you all feel free to hop in whenever you want, ask questions, anything like that. It's an open forum. So yeah. And so I want to ask you too, David, right? So what about those entrepreneurs out there who maybe they don't have a full-time job to use to help fund their business? What advice do you have? What advice do you have for them? Like maybe they're
well, look, you one of my favorite movies of all time is The Shawshank Redemption. Okay. And I like that movie because that dude, and I don't know if anyone's ever seen this movie, but it's essentially about a guy who was wrongly accused and he went to prison. And over a series of multiple years, he was able to get out, basically by trying to dig his way out 1 tablespoon at a time every day. And if you don't have a business and you don't have a job, you don't have anything like that, it is unrealistic to say, I'm going to form a business and be able to support myself from day one. It's just unrealistic. What you have to do is say, look, I want to move towards entrepreneurship, but I'm going to try to earn some income in the meantime, because you can't start from zero unless you have a skill set that people will pay for. Like I said, you're an attorney, you're some sort of HR consultant, something that somebody's going to willing to pay you for your mind. Like, so for me, when I started my law firm, I had a very low startup cost because I was getting paid for my transactional work or doing documents. And so people were paying me for that. But a lot of people don't have the kind of skill set they can automatically demand a service for, unless it's labor related. So you could always go out and mow someone's lawn or, physically do something for people in terms of being a physical labor and using your fingers and arms and legs and ambidextrous parts, right? So for most people who want to get in entrepreneurship, the first thing I would tell them if they have no money, no job, is to take the time pressure off of it. But at the same time, be realistic where you are and say, this is where I am. Let me get some work and then learn. There's a lot of free entrepreneurship programs out there. We talked about SCORE. There's the Hope Financial Assistance here in Atlanta that does a good job with startup and small businesses. There's a lot of other programs in Atlanta that really support small businesses getting started before. Then they take you through, make you put together a business plan, make you write all this stuff down, and meet nightly or weekly and at nights. And they just kind of help you start to think about the task that's ahead of you. And then you got to spend time with other entrepreneurs and work under an entrepreneur. So if you are going to go back to work, find somebody who owns the company so you can kind of get a feel of how they're not sleeping at night and see if that's something you still want. But it's very difficult to start a business with no money. The business is called a business and it makes profit. You got to have profit by an investment. So I'm not going to sit here and tell you, go out to the bank, they'll give you a starter loan. I haven't heard of any starter funds. And if it is, it ain't enough. If anybody's giving you starter money to start your business, it's not going to be enough. It's going to be like $500 or $700 or something like that. And that'll get blown in, a logo or something. So, to be realistic about what it's going to take to get this going. And then you got to make sure you use your energy efficiently. We talked about this in some of the past talks. Like, you can't afford as an entrepreneur to be lazy, tired, or there's no boss. Right. So all of a sudden no one's waking you up at 6, 7, 8, 9. You're not hitting the alarm clock to shower to go to work. You are getting up on your own and you have to be efficient because now all of a sudden everything you do has to be leading towards revenue. And so you got to get used to what that feels like as an entrepreneur, not get too high when you have a big month and not get too low when you get a low month, but just getting used to that roller coaster ride of just motion sickness of your stomach when that account's going in wild swings. And once you get used to that and kind of get into your rhythm and believe that the work that you've put in is going to net results. I'll give you an example. So my law firm every year nets the same amount of money of revenue, just every year, just the same number, probably averaged out over the last 10 years is the same number, given inflation, et cetera. And it's so funny because it's going to be the same number this year. And the question becomes, Dave, how do you know where your next client is going to come from? I actually don't know. I don't know who's my client's going to be in August. I don't know who my client's going to be in September. I don't know. I don't have like a fairy godmother of attorneys going like, hey, here's your next client. But what I do know is that if I continue to work hard every day, I don't stop networking. I don't stop talking to people. I don't stop answering questions. And it all falls into place. And for some people who are used to seeing things before they go, that's hard for them to do. Like, how are you just working, not knowing if the client's going to come tomorrow? I'm like, I don't worry about it. I just enjoy what I'm doing and keep grinding every day. And some people can't get used to that feeling. They want that paycheck. They want that knowing that the check is going to come. So, that'll make you realize real quick whether you're meant to be an entrepreneur or not.
It's funny you said that because you said something about basically patience and taking care of yourself. All three of us, me, Marcus, and Neil, we all literally take care of ourselves mentally and physically. That's why I was late on the call, because I was at the gym working out. Because I know if I don't work out, like that's my stress relief. I'm gonna be stressed. Like last week, I'm not sure if they told you, we had just picked up our truck. We were set to make our first load. We lock in on the trailer. The fifth wheel didn't lock. So here it is. We here to make our money, and the truck malfunctions. So we had to take the truck. We had to leave the load there. We had to take the truck to the shop and take the truck to the shop. Then another issue occurs with a depth sensor that causes the check engine light to come on. Well, when that light come on, that truck is not going to go over 3 miles per hour. So they had to sit there with that. And then they literally kept our truck for a week. We didn't get our truck back till yesterday. So we literally officially made our first load. And that was a call I got. Our driver was saying that he was headed back to Texas. So it's like you said, it's literally a roller coaster. We haven't seen any return from anything we've invested. But it's like Marcus said, we're all in. So we know, like, hey, like once we get out of this rabbit hole, yeah, we may have to go back into it every now and then, but it's going to be up from here because we all have patience and perseverance.
Well, let's talk shop a little bit for a minute. And I'm sorry, Adrena, if we go off topic, but I want to talk about trucking for a minute. So, at Positivity Water here, or at StarWalker Industries, we have 2 brands, Integrity and Positivity, and we sell our brands by the truckload. A truckload is right up at 45,000. It's like 44,008. It's about 26 pallets, 26,000 bottles. And we ship our truckloads directly from our plants to our distributors. So but we keep a truckload here in Atlanta for, the things that we do online in our local events and charities, et cetera, like that. But I can tell you, man, that freight right now is super duper ridiculous. Like I was like, listen, man, I had a load going to New York City that when I quoted my customer probably about 6-7 weeks ago, 1,800, Pennsylvania to New York, not a big deal. Man, I promise you, in order to get that before 4th of July to New York, I ended up paying like $4,200. It just went up ridiculous. And it got to a point where one broker was like, I just can't price it. I can't get it for you. Like, well, you can't get it. He canceled the pickup appointment. So I was like, man, $4,200 to drive from basically Philadelphia to New York. I'm like, I need to be a truck driver, but the prices, man, is going up. How are you guys handling that? You finding drivers too? I mean, they say it's hard to find drivers. They said the price is going up. Are you making money and you finding it that, you getting a lot of calls?
So by the grace of God, Nia, our business partner, her dad has his CDL, and he literally left his job. He put in his 2 weeks, a couple weeks ago, left his job and said, hey, I'm a job for y'all for 2 weeks to a month for free. Y'all put everything you make, put it back into the business. And so that's by the grace of God. That's, like I said, our first load was yesterday. And so that's what we've been able to do. We literally have only booked 1 load. So our first official week of booking loads every single day will be next week. And it's by the grace of God that he was willing to help us. And then there's been people who've been supportive of us being young entrepreneurs, people from Dallas, from Fort Worth, from Houston. They've simply been sharing our post on Instagram. And we've had people hit us up like, hey, I want to drive for y'all because I seem like y'all will take care of us. And we will. I mean, that's the thing we've talked about. We discussed amongst ourselves as business partners we cannot nickel and dime these people. We have to pay them in order. We're not worried about the money. We know the money is going to come, but we have to be in order to get drivers that's not going to leave our truck in DC and we wait in Texas. We have to take care of them. And so that's how it is. It's by the grace of God that, like I said, we had a driver who was willing to come in and do it for us for a month for little of nothing.
Are you guys using the broker?
We have a broker. One of my dad's college roommates, he linked us with a broker that he uses for he has a company in Houston. I can't remember the name of it, but he linked us with a broker from TQL.
TQL.
Who's very knowledgeable, and he's
use Freight Coat and TQL. I'm starting to though take business cards of people because we have a plant in Fort Worth, Texas, that we ship from too. So we need to connect after this because I got another trucking guy here in Atlanta, and he was like $4,200, bro. I could have got it for you. So I'm paying the broker fees too and all the other stuff. So
definitely. We'll connect after. Yes, sir.
Yeah, we connect. So, that's that business, the trucking business can be lucrative, and it has a lot of hits or misses. But, like you said, you got to build a system that's built for long term, not take shortcuts, not try to skimp out on, the certifications and making sure the drivers, are all legit and taken care of. And it can be lucrative if you do it well. I have some clients that have done really well and you start off with 2 or 3 trucks, and it is going to come down to truck. He said it all the time, it comes down to drivers. He always say, I always got like 3 or 4 guys. I'm just never going to go anywhere because I take care of them, etc. But he's like, I'm always looking because it's a big rotation. It's just a revolving door. These guys come, they go, they start their own. That's another thing too. They say they start seeing you do it, and they're like, I'm going to buy my own truck. So, it's hard. It's a hard business. So, but I like it. I think you guys are in a good spot. I mean, freight is just right now, it's just out of control. It really is very, very high. So I thought, man, I should get my own truck. But then I'm like, nah, I do water. I'll stay in my lane. I'll just pay the money.
No, this is good. Like, I'm learning things too. And actually, I want to hit on this point since we're on the topic of taking care of, you all said taking care of your drivers and staff. Let's kind of get into that conversation a little bit. And I know this kind of goes into, David, we had these conversations before about paying for what you need and not just always thinking about, I need to save all this money, but figure out, pay for what you need and always be thinking, how do I make more money so that I can, pay more people? So I want to get into that discussion with you all too. Let me see, bring Nia. I think she's back on here, but
hey, I heard you, but my connection had went out, so I couldn't hear the full question of what you asked.
Oh, okay. No, I just wanted to get into, because you all mentioned taking care of your driver. So I just want to get into, I kind of just want to get that conversation going a little bit, because me and David, we've had these talks on previous conversations that we have, and we talk about when it comes to, as an entrepreneur, about not being afraid to invest in your business and pay for what you need. Because a lot of people, they have that mindset of, well, let me just save every little penny I get, every little thing. And then, like you all were just saying, you got to take care of your drivers and make sure that you're paying them good so that they won't, just fall off. So I just want to open that discussion about the importance of, really just not being afraid to invest. And even Marcus, even you with your clothing line, like you have a whole nother set of expenses when it comes to that. So yeah, I just want to get into that and the importance of not being afraid to invest in yourself and really just taking care of your people. That's what I want people to really get from this as well.
Right. And I'll say this, the term of the year is you have to pay to play. And that's a term that we live by. You honestly have to pay to play. You got to remember that the people that work for you, they're also human. They also have problems going on at home. And you're human. You got problems going on at home. And we want to create that perfect workspace for somebody to come work for us and be like, hey, this is where I can get my stress off at. This is where I can relax and get focused and do the work I got to do, safe, secure, and comfortable. You get what I'm saying? So, you have to pay. You have to pay it at a competitive rate, because if you don't pay, somebody else will. And you have to take care of good people. Remember that everybody is human. Everybody has their own problems, and we just want to make sure that we can take care of the people that work for us.
Yeah, remember what I said about the equity in your savings is in your business. If you haven't had the day where you paid everybody but yourself and you were still happy, That's when you know you're an entrepreneur. Like, look, I made payroll. Everybody got their check. How much did you get? I didn't get anything, and I don't care. I'll be here Saturday working no matter what, but at least all these people will be back on Monday. And that's the real truth of entrepreneurship. And most people would think you crazy. Like, what are you celebrating for? I'm like, I paid her. Everybody's getting their check. I'll get mine whenever. If this all works out, I'll be paid in due time. But day to day, you just got to make sure those people are getting taken care of, because they're not entrepreneurs. They're the other 92 to 98% of Americans. They want their check. I drove the truck and I came on this day. One of the things that you do not want to do as an entrepreneur is mess with people's money. I'm telling you this, when you have employees and you have to pay their payroll and they take out that check, and that check comes and you think, well, I don't have to pay them for 2 weeks, so maybe I can get them to do this, this, and this. And then you can play with a lot of things. You can play with banks' money. You can play with your landlord's money. You can pay with utilities. There's two things you don't play with: the IRS and the employees' checks, because when they get mad, they can blow up everything. When I say everything, Department of Labor, everybody, they let their moms know. They write things on Facebook, my money, my money. So I try to tell people, man, make sure you have a proper budget, proper processes to bring on people, because they can work in your favor if you treat them right, and if you sacrifice and make sure they're getting treated right. But if you don't do that, and you're selfish and you're driving a Cadillac every day into the office and buying a new truck every third month, and they're struggling with their check or not getting the cost of inflation raises, that stuff doesn't last, man. It's not a sustainable model. So, I believe that you invest. And one of the ways, if you're an early startup business owner, you got to stop the materialistic stuff. I mean, when you talk about saving for yourself, I mean, I've hit my materialistic peak. This is my nicest shirt, and I'm okay with that, right? Like, I've hit my materialistic peak. I mean, if somebody came up to me today, was like, Dave, here's another $50,000. I'm not going to, Gucci, Lamborghini. I'm going? I'm going down to my HR department and going, can we get a couple more salespeople? Can we get more things like this? So if you take yourself out of it, a lot of the things that's driven by yourself early is your materialistic needs of what you need. And you got to eat humbly, live humbly, and then put it all into your business, and that'll pay off. I know a lot of people don't want to hear that. They think business owners are rich. They're not. They're struggling, but they're okay with it.
And go ahead, Malik.
I was gonna say, it's funny he said that, because we literally said, like, we're denying ourselves. When we first structured our business, we said for the first 6 months, we're not paying ourselves as owners. Everything is going back into the business. It's just like the other day, we were on a call, and myself and Marcus were trying to tell Nia, like, hey, Nia, you've been carrying the load since we've been like working. You've been off a little bit, so you've been carrying this load. Like, go ahead and like incorporate your pay into this first load. And she literally said no. We literally tried to beg her, and she said no. So that also helps, man. Having coworkers that you can trust. You can trust one another to where nobody's gonna get greedy. Nobody's gonna say, hey, man, I've been doing all this work, so I need more than 10% of what that load paying. I need more than what that is. So that's been very helpful. And then having the mindset of, like you said, tackling. We know we got to tackle debt. We know, like Marcus said, we got to pay to play. When we met with that trucking company and they told us the amount of money we had to put down, it was crazy compared to the money we had wrote down. They told us initially it was gonna be like 8%. Well, David, come back. We putting down $27,000 cash. We like, okay, now hold on. And so we literally in a group message, like, hey, they called us, like, hey, like, they holding this truck for us, like, what y'all want to do? And Marcus say, hey, we got to pay to play. So what we do, we went and got our money. We put our money together. We walked in there. Nia walked in there. She took them that check. And I wasn't there, but I'm pretty sure they're like, how this black girl coming here with $30,000 cash? And we try to, it could have been discouraging to anybody else. And that's why I tell people all the time, I wouldn't want to go through this stuff with anybody else other than Marcus and Nia. Nia is very positive. Marcus is very positive. Marcus literally sends the group messages every morning, like, hey, he's up before me and Nia. It's 5 o'clock in the morning. He's up like, hey, today is the day. Like, let's do this, let's do that. So everybody wakes up in a good mood. Even when the truck was down, Nia talking about, hey, this is the update. So we literally had an update from somebody, whether it's myself, whether it's her, Marcus. We literally keep each other motivated because we know we're going to have them days where we in the corner and it's like, man, I don't want to do it no more. But it's like I said, it all helps with working with trustworthy people that you can say that's all in agreement, says, hey, we can deny ourselves this right now because we know we got to pay to play. But when we play, we're going to play hard.
Well, yeah, you guys hit a significant milestone too in generating revenue, because in a business like that, that's heavily intensive, capital intensive, the first thing you can do is generate a paycheck. And once you get that first check and say, man, I got some money from doing this, that's a huge milestone. Even though you know that that check got to go back into something else. But having that check and having somebody write you a check, it feels like validated. Like, man, I actually got this to a point where somebody's paying me money. And if you guys can say, hey, let's try to keep it in there and let's live minimum, or try to, keep all of our personal money into it as long as we can, your valuation is going up. So that 30,000, your company's worth more than $30,000 right now, simply because you got a truck and you got a contract. So as you start to get more, contracts, employees, trucks, it starts to go up. Your value is going up. But you're right. Whatever you have done with that $30,000, though, is it still sitting in your account right now? I mean, so it's like people like, well, this is a lot of money, but your 401k is sitting in your account right now. It's not doing anything. But if you take this $30,000 and now it's your company's worth 60, then you're making money with that 30. So so you're right. It's a lot of money. It's a big investment. You got good people around you, prepared for it, smart, learning. The experience is worth more than everything. I bet you won't have no more emergency lights come on in that truck, right? So that experience, man, is just something that keeps repeating itself. And so when people say that they've been in business 20 years, 23 years, you need to sit up with those people if they're in your industry and listen to them, because they might say things, 20 things that's over your head, but one thing is going to stick with you. Like, you know what? I need to do this better. And so I applaud you guys for getting it going. I'm motivated to keep you guys going and keep doing it, man, and keep turning it on and not quitting. And, we don't have, you guys probably don't have, anybody in your family that's done this before. Right. So we're all first generation sort of like entrepreneurs and risk takers. There's not a lot of people who come up and go, yeah, my family's owned a trucking company for 35 years on our side. Right. It's usually my family's been a truck driver for 30 years, but they haven't owned a trucking company. So we're also in the edges of entrepreneurship a lot of times. And when you look around and you don't see anybody like you, and you don't see anybody who can identify with some of the things and you learning for the first time, it makes it that much harder for us. But we got perseverance, and so we're gonna do it.
And I think it's a beautiful dynamic with the three of you all. It seems like you all balance each other out. Like each one brings something different to the table, but you're all three of you all, because a lot of times, and this is from my experience, like I have, people who reach out and they say, hey, let's do XYZ together. Let's do this event, or let's do this company together. But a lot of times what I found is that people, they want to be attached to you because of what they see you can do, not because they really can add any value to you. So, and it's like, you sit on the phone and you plan this whole thing out, and then it's like, I end up doing all the work, and they just want their name to be somewhere. But it's like, what did you actually put in to contribute to the situation happening? So it's like, now I'm like real leery when it comes to even working with people. But this, I like the dynamic that you all have. You all seem like you all balance each other out good. And just to kind of hit on, we were talking about paying people. I know I saw an interview with it was with Master P. It was a while back, but he was talking about when he was first starting No Limit, and he was saying what you all was saying, David, like he paid his staff, and he was like, a lot of days he wouldn't have no money for himself, but he was like, as long as his staff was taken care of, because he knew that without them, he couldn't run a record label. So it's like, and that's what really even helped me get into the mindset of, okay, make sure you do what you need to do, pay who you need to pay, because, at the end of the day, you can't do everything by yourself. So and so Nia, let's hear from you. I want to hear from you because, like I said, I know they really praised you a lot on this last interview, and talked about how you.
They don't want her to give away the secrets. They're like, Nia, we talk. You don't tell anything. Don't give away any secrets.
Yeah, she's quiet over here.
So
you just want to hear anything, or you didn't?
Yeah, your thoughts on even being in
talk about talk about being a woman in the business. I mean, we talk about being black, but you have an extra added. What have you seen that you were like, wow, I didn't know this was happening, or things that were interesting from your perspective that you weren't expecting or that you saw in the business?
Okay, one of the first. Mom.
Hey, Mom.
Yeah, Mom. They said hello. So you know how that goes, but it's been crazy. Like when they sent us our down payment, like the amount, I was like, we were all like, that was triple what we were expecting to put down, but that's fine. We're gonna do it anyway. And from that moment, we knew we had the cash. So when we told them yes, we have it, it was like, okay, well, we need this, we need that, like bank statements, and that was fine. Like those type of things were fine, but just to experience us being young and them asking for tax information, and mind you, we're just getting out of college, so this year was our first year actually filing our taxes by ourselves, because we've had like we make too much money to be filed or claimed by our parents. So we just I was really down during that part. I just felt like the odds were against us. So me being a woman, I'm very emotional, and it was like I have a lot of days where I'm pretty down if things don't go the way they are expected to go, or to my expectations. But Malik and Marcus, they really do help me out, keep me motivated. Like they said, I have a lot of the free time to deal with the phone calls and like driving literally in circles or going to the same place 5 different times in one day. Seems like I'm wasting gas, but in reality, it's getting the goal done at the end of the day. So I enjoy it, but in the moment when I'm doing it, I'm like feeling it. But in the end, when we get the results that we want, it feels great. So
Yeah.
You know, it's not easy to have a partnership in general. So this is a very rare thing too. So you guys are going to ruin all these little serial entrepreneurs. They're going to be like, I can grab a couple friends from college. We can start a clothing business. We can do trucking. Y'all gonna mess it up for a lot of people. And I want to just talk about how special this group is, not just from all your serial entrepreneur mindset, but a lot of times the momentum of enthusiasm, it can be the worst thing when it comes to being an attorney, because everybody comes in with emotional enthusiasm. I've known this person. We had class together. I've known them since I'm 18. Like, you're 22. That's 4 years, right? And then but they get so attached. Well, how do you know this person? Well, we went to chemistry class together and we both had this idea to come up with this, and this. And they all just want to make it happen. But I'm the one that has to say, well, what if it doesn't happen, right? Like, what are some of the things that could go wrong? And they're like, oh, that's not going to go wrong. Like, death, divorce, disability, hours work, competition, people moving out of state, kids, family, marriage. I mean, there's all kind of things that can break up a partnership. So what I oftentimes try to do when people come in on a new project and they want to work together or collab and do a joint venture, I'll tell them this: do the first one with no contract. And they're like, what? Like, yes, go out and find one customer together with no contract between you and figure out how you guys are going to work together. What do you mean? All right, you're going to sell widgets. You guys go out and sell one widget together and see how you work. And then if you can sell that widget, or you sell 2 widgets, even though you don't have a contract together and you worked it out, you split the money, then we can come back and do an agreement. And the reason I say that is because a lot of times when people are thinking about collaboration with another person, they have this holistic, like, big idea of how grand that person is. But if you're a person who answers your phone all the time and the other partner doesn't, that's going to be a problem. If you clear your voicemails and that other person's voicemail is always blocked, that's going to be a problem. If that person doesn't answer their emails and you answer all your emails, that's going to be a problem. It's always the little stuff when you're executing that creates problems in your partnership, not the grandiose things. So you might like that person. You might share similar values and ideas. But if you're going to be the one towing the line, or you're going to be the one sort of pushing all the weight, that's going to get old real quick. So I try to tell people, if you can, try to do one customer together first, and then come back and say, okay, we did a couple customers. We see what we work together. We feel good about it. And then those tend to work out better than the people who just want to, oh, we never did anything together. Let's just do an operating agreement. It's all going to work out.
All right, David. I definitely agree with you. And I'm a firm believer that God shows us glimpses of greatness in periodic times. Like, I met these 2 individuals during different glimpses of their greatness. Like, when I worked with the school, Malik was attorney general. So I got to see him in his prime of operating business, dealing with students, dealing with people, how he responds. And then as he graduated, I matriculated to become the SGA president. And Nia was my attorney general. She took Malik's position. So I saw that glimpse of Nia in her time of greatness when she was operating and without even being told to do something. You know what I'm saying? She was doing it. Like the same with Malik, he was doing it without being told to do something. And those are the type of people I like to work with. You know what I mean? And I knew right then that, hey, we will make great business partners because we all are ambitious, we all persevere, and we know how to stick together, you know? So I already knew like, hey, I would love to be business partner with these individuals.
And it's crazy because a lot of people still to this day, people text Nia and they literally think like me and Marcus are blood brothers. They think her and Marcus are blood brother and sister. And we literally all met at college. And it's been like since me and Marcus like first met, that's literally been like that's my little brother. Like even now, like if when I had before I shaved my beard, I was telling like, boy, you look like me. Like it's literally been that connection between us and people outside, people like our administrators at school. Our administrators at school, like, man, like, are y'all seriously that close? Like I was talking to somebody yesterday and I was like, hold on, man, this is Marcus calling me. He's like, y'all still talking? Y'all both gone from school? Like, yeah, like we are literally like Marcus. I tell people all the time, you would think Marcus is Nia's boyfriend because Marcus talks to Nia more than I do sometimes. So, and that's my girlfriend. So it's like, it's when we had that relationship to where it literally it comes together, man. It's been wonderful. It's a major blessing because like you said, we went out of, like, for example, we went out of the country for my 25th birthday and we had no issues with nobody complained about the money for the excursions. Nobody complained about the food. Nobody complained about anything. And you cannot travel with anybody. So it's just like business. You can't travel with everybody. You can't do business with everybody. And these two people for sure, I knew definitely like, hey, I can do business with them. Because I've seen Marcus turn up. I've seen Marcus switch it on from being a noob on the yard to, all right, it's time to handle SGA president business. I've seen Nia turn it from, oh, I'm going to go strong my line sister to, oh, I got to go handle this business as far as SGA. So it's been that wonderful thing where I knew we can balance, all right, we can balance fun, we can balance family, and we can balance friendship.
That's dope. And that's like I was saying earlier, this is like the perfect trio. You all got to work with each other, see each other work, and then also you two are dating. So I kind of want to get into that a little bit, and we're gonna get ready to wrap this thing up. But I mean, how was that dynamic? Like the three of you all are friends, but then also you two having to not only be in a relationship but do business together. Like how do you all, I guess, kind of intertwine the both of those for you?
Well, when we were in college and we did like SGA, which is, business, we literally live by separating like business and personal. So it kind of, it's something that we had already been doing and we just took it with us and just instilled it with us with the business thing. So if I say something to you about the business, like, don't take it personal. Like, this isn't me and you dating. This is me and business partners. So it's just having to switch it on and off. Malik, how you feel about it?
Yeah, let him tell you.
Yeah, I just let Nia run everything when it comes to the business. Because I know at the end, like, that's my girlfriend. So if we disagree about something, I'm not going to hear the end of it. So I just kind of, that's why I literally, like, we had a discussion about a load the other day, and I was looking at a load, and it's something she had been doing, and I was just trying to lift the load from her. And so she said something, and I said, you know what, you've been doing it, so I'm gonna let you do it. So it's been a perfect balance. Like she said with SGA, we literally worked in the same office because she came in, like Marcus said, she came in after me. So I kind of like trained her in a position and I let her handle a lot of things. And so that let me see, like, okay, yes, she's a woman, yes, she's emotional, but she can handle this. And so when she was able to handle, like, people don't understand, HBCU elections, they get worse than the presidential United States election. So when I saw that she was able to handle all of that, I said, okay, like, cool, we can really, like, we can real life do business together. And she's very good at when it comes to math, when it comes to all kind of stuff. So the areas that me and Marcus may lack in, she'll pick it up. Like we kept saying earlier, she was like, I don't want to get on the call. We were like, well, Nia, like, you got to get on. She's like, no, I just want to stay behind the scenes. And I told her, I said, well, no, because you ain't gonna have that lady coming on that post again talking about, here y'all go again. Where's the girl at? So I told her, like, you got to get on this call. So we have fun. We literally have fun. We have our days where we bump heads, like, all right, man, I still got to work with you at the end of the day, but it's been fun, man.
Well, Nia, being a woman in this business, you need to just keep being a woman. If you get emotional, and we have a cry-free zone at our office, and I tell people, don't make fun of anybody crying, Okay, because sometimes we want to cry. So they know, and they like, sorry, I'm crying. I'm like, you don't have to apologize for cry. You're gonna make me cry, but go ahead and cry, because if you're gonna say women are important in our workplace, but try to make them act like men, then you're not really trying to make women relevant in your workplace. If women have emotion, they have gut instinct, you got to give them the freedom to use that.
And it's funny you said that. I'm not sure. My internet was messing up earlier, but when our truck was in the shop, they sent us a quote, and the quote was outrageous, and I was not going for it like at all. So Malik took me up there to the dealership, and I went off. And it was to the point to where Malik thought I was probably about to cry because I was so heated and frustrated. But those men there were scared and they were terrified, and they told me to give them an hour to figure out the numbers, and it took them 15 minutes. And the quote that they gave us was not consistent. And
Get back, let women do their magic, boy. Sit
Mr.
back.
David, that quote dropped about $2,500, man.
Man, you got to just be quiet. Yeah, you heard her, right? No
When
embarrassment.
she got to going, I literally just stood on I just leaned on the door, and I was like, hey, like, y'all got to deal with her, not me.
Exactly. Let women be women. Let them do what they got to do. They'll handle it.
This has been a great discussion, and we're gonna go ahead and wrap this thing on up. So, any final words that you all want to leave, and drop your social media information, and definitely make sure we all can we all connect with each other as well. But any final words you all want to say before we go?
I definitely appreciate this opportunity once again, because you all did not have to invite us back on again, and to be able to connect with this is what I learned. This is why I love HBCUs. For example, like Mr. Davis said, he has a warehouse here in Fort Worth, and so he was like, hey, let's connect before this is over. So this is the biggest thing that the HBCU gave me was networking. I'm able to walk into a room with anybody and simply say, oh, that person's black like me, they go to HBCU like me, and let's network. And so just like today, Mr. Walker knew, okay, hey, we got a truck business. Then he says, hey, I got a location in Fort Worth, send me your number. And here it is, we're in the chat, exchanging numbers, and this could be a lifelong business partnership.
I agree.
I just want to say thank you again for this opportunity, allowing me, Nia, and Malik to come on here and network, as like Malik said. And I'm just thankful for this opportunity. Nice to meet you, Mr. David.
Find me on LinkedIn too. I think
yes.
That's probably the best way we can chat and do things. Yeah. So I'm on LinkedIn, and I send some of my information on there. Positivity Water. Get you some water down there in Texas. Make sure you guys stay hydrated.
Black on.
Yeah, that's right. Can't sit there and push trucks around and yell at people at the truck place without any water. That can be dehydrated, Nia, all that crying and yelling. So make sure you have water next time.
Yeah.
Say thank you as well. I was completely took out of my comfort zone. So I wasn't saying I didn't want to come as in like not come with you guys. It was like I'm on the back end. I like doing the behind the scenes work. So thank y'all.
Yeah, well, no, I'm glad you came. Like Malik said, we're gonna, pull a clip so we can, make sure people don't think we just leaving you out again, So, but no, this is good. But thank you all for coming on. This has been a great interview, and of course, this will be saved, and so we'll all stay connected, and we'll see you all soon.
All right, bye everyone.
All right, peace. Thank you.
Bye.